I guess I should unmute my mic. Hi, my name is Mike. I haven't really drawn professionally, or not even professionally, just like rigorously or like studiously for 25 years. I used to be an artist. I used to be in school for art, but then I switched to programming. And the last 25 years I've been programming and loved it. I found it very creative, but I have felt the need for like a different creative outlet. And I'd like to try my hand at drawing and really like seriously trying to draw better like I used to draw. And so that's all this is. If you want to join and talk about, whatever's going on in your life, there's a lot going on in the world. By all means, join. I'm going to try and do this fairly regularly, probably in the mornings, and just, want to try something new that I haven't done for a while. And hopefully that, adds just a little bit of brightness and hope in my life. So I will let's switch to my desk. So here is my desk. Let's get some lights on so that we can see things just a bit easier. One second. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm hoping that this here will add just a little bit of improvement to the lighting so that it doesn't feel so dark. I like my office dark. And so what I would really love to do is I have this guy, and you can see he's just this little toy. I actually got this for my daughter for Christmas. And what I'd like to do is just to draw this as a reference to see if I can't, get things to line up correctly. I'm not really looking to build anything that is, finished. I'm just looking to draw structures and see if I can get back to that. So that's my first step here, is to try and draw some sort of realistic looking representation of what it is. Like just try and get the proportions and everything correct. So I'm going to put him down, and I had kind of a cool pose that I had liked. It was kind of something like this that felt like a little kind of dramatic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this so that you guys can kind of see what it is about that I am seeing. There we go. So this is about kind of what my model is doing. That seems about right. So this is a brand new notebook. I've never used it. I have never really had a notebook that I just worked on to try and like build for show. All of my notebooks have been kind of throwaway notebooks. I never really enjoyed showing to people just because they're kind of, like I said, all over the place. So I'm just going to try to do this. Where's the right pencil that I was going to use? Here it is. Okay. Yeah. Nobody's here, so I can't really like respond to any questions. And that's okay. The reason I'm doing this is I have gone through, fairly difficult times over the past couple of years. And I am really looking to try and find like a little bit of meaning in life. I'm gonna draw the hand. I'm not going off of the camera here. I'm just gonna try and go off of like what I'm actually seeing. But I notice like these lines. It feels like something like this, and it kind of comes down. But this kind of is what I'm seeing. Something like that. Got this kind of box for the wrist around it. So it's kind of goes a little bit further. The other problem I've always had is that I am a very, very loose sketcher. And that means that I end up having like lots of lines all over the place. And I'm going to try very hard to not do that anymore. Or at least during this as kind of like an exercise. I'd like to try and have very intentional lines and not too many of them. So the thing I notice is that the middle finger here kind of goes below the pointer finger, and then on the other ones it kind of disappears right around there, and then the pinky disappears as well, something like that. And then here there is this like circle. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Like I've never been very clean in what I've done, and that's too bad because it makes things a lot more difficult. If I'm looking at this, I know like it's going to come down pretty much right on this circle. That's there. If I look at where it's going to end up, if this kind of goes to here, of course there's going to be more of that, but this really does seem can end up over even here more. And that's going to go that way. It's going to kind of go back in a little bit. So let me connect these two. And then it's not that big. I made it bigger than what it needs to be. So this is the type of drawing I really haven't done, is trying to get like more of an accurate representation of what it is I'm looking at. Everything that you do look at is a shape, and so just trying to get like that shape more accurately represented. It's kind of a thing. See, here's the thing. We know that here, that angle just feels wrong. I feel like I'm not actually making a box. I really need to kind of make it go like that, even though that's not entirely what I'm seeing. I guess the thumb is actually a little more forward. Kind of goes like this. So we have a little bit of a line here that goes from the base of the hand to where the thumb is actually going to start. And then this is a lot smaller than what I have right here. And then of course we've got underneath. Let's get rid of this and see if we can do a little bit better. And then this kind of comes in, if you notice. And these are a little bit rounded. Try and give you that thumb looking feeling. All right. So I like that a little bit better. I'm trying to think if we go from like this corner to this corner, where that lower, like that piece of plastic for the joint comes in. And it looks to be about 2/3 along the ridge of that wrist box. And then it looks to come out right about here. So let's say something like this. It's kind of what that looks like, that dark area. And then just kind of box that in. This kind of goes on the same plane. So I would assume that this is also on the same plane. So something like that. Man, I'm doing a lot more erasing than I really wanted to. But that's all right. Because this is just the first of hopefully many drawing adventures in the future. All right. So that's about kind of like what I'm seeing. You know, there's other stuff going on over here. That's a good little first sketch. I think what I really want to do is get this dynamic pose. Sorry, I thought my phone would stay on a little bit better. Not really sure how to make it not turn off. Let's just kind of do the entire body pose. I think where I want to start is on the pelvis area. And a lot of people, like, we usually start around the head, and then you have to make the body kind of fit however big you drew the head. When I was drawing a lot, I would start with the torso, just to when I did get to the head, I would make it the right size, so that way things looked correctly. What I'm really looking at is like as you go straight down on the head, where does it cross the shoulder? This, you know, as you go straight up on the wrist, you notice that it's not perfectly vertical, so you will see this pokes out a little bit more than this corner. This corner is going to be a little more to the right than this corner of the arm. Things like that. This is like what I'm looking to try and do. So if you go like from the edge of the head all the way down, where does it cross the gun? Where does it cross the foot? From the hip all the way down, you know, where do things cross? This is a lot of, you know, a lot of the skill that I have missed over the years. And then also just proportions, right? Am I drawing something too big? Usually when you kind of like do these vertical measurements on, you know, where things overlap, you end up, you know, solving most of those proportion issues, but not always. Sometimes, you know, you end up making, you know, like the head just way too big, or, you know, more narrow than it needs to be, because there's really nothing to like figure out what the width is other than, you know, or what the height is even. So I'm just going to kind of go from there, but I really like kind of the pelvis. There's a little bit of a bend where the pelvis is kind of leaned back. That's because, you know, I kind of think that this character is in a, you know, they're in a dynamic environment. I'm thinking more like comic books, right? This character has been running this way, and now he wants to turn, and he's looking, and he's probably, you know, going to turn. And so that's why the foot is down, because he's going to absorb a lot of the weight of his body as he's, you know, he's getting ready to turn. Anyways, but start with the pelvis, kind of move up to the chest. I think that will help me keep everything within proportion. And so the thing I'm really looking at is kind of like this piece right here. So I'm just going to start with that. And as I see it, it's a little bit more of an angle. So this is not going to be exactly what the phone has been showing. I know I'm doing I'm just going to do a little more sketchy just because that's kind of what I've always done. So if we get these lines right. This is sort of what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing. I see the top of that hip is kind of doing something around there. You know, this is kind of flat, then it kind of cuts in a little bit more after. This is going to come down and it's going to go out quite a bit. If I'm looking at that to that, like it's going straight down. It looks like that kneecap is going to be right about here. And this is an interesting, this plastic is interesting because it kind of implies a lot of anatomy, but it's really not accurate, but it does, I think, honestly, a pretty good job. It'll work for both male and female, which is nice. This is why I got it for my kid, thinking that it was going to be something good for her. She's in college now and looking to go into something with art. She really kind of wants to do something like storyboarding for movies, TVs, things like that, which I think would be fantastic. I think she'd be great at that. All right, so this hip piece is here, but then you notice the leg is kind of turned over. That means that right about in the middle of this area. Open, please. Yeah. So right about the middle of this area, you notice that this leg is kind of twisted over. I am not really trying to make this look necessarily human, so I'm going to go exactly with what it's doing. This angle is a lot less dynamic than this angle, and so it also kind of kicks out. It's more up and down, not so far out. And if we look at the knee comes down to about here, and then this knee is way lower. So I think this is going to have to come down quite a bit. Yeah. So it'll be something like that. Got this little piece here. We got the kneecap kind of going down. I may have made this too big, honestly. I'm not really used to working on a small sketchbook. When I was doing art in high school and college, I was using much larger pieces of paper. That's another reason I never really had a sketchbook. I think that's just going to be good enough for now. There's some interesting kind of details inside the pelvis that is a little bit interesting. I'm going to just estimate that, I think. And again, what I'm seeing is not exactly the same as what we're seeing here in the phone. Yeah, just this actually. Seeing something different now. This piece really kind of fits in more here, and then it ends early, so there's more of a more of a backside angle coming in there. So this thing, yeah, really fits there. Kind of goes straight up. And this ab piece fits in there, and then it kind of cuts out right about there. We've got the rib cage kind of going around here. It pokes out. I feel like it's more of an angle. I'm going straight across. Notice it's higher. So this, if it was here, then I think it would be about here. Then we've got this kind of cutting out on that piece. And this kind of cuts down about the time you get to this ab kick out. Something like that. Again, these are very messy, but I'm just gonna have to live with it for today. The fact that I'm even doing this at all is really fun. It seems like this line really lines up with that upper pec. So I'm just gonna kind of extend it, kind of see what we get. This pec looks like it comes in more. It's gonna end more about the middle. So if I was doing this here, I'd kind of go up that way. This seems more realistic. Not realistic, this is more accurate to what it's doing. All right. Again, we're kind of at an angle here. I think this might be too tall, honestly. Yeah, it is too tall. Probably more like this. Should make that. And then if we've got this rib cage here, this pec piece is really not curved, even though the rib cage piece is. Then it comes up, and then it connects up here, and then it's rounded. Well, this is not going to be as accurate as I wanted, but it's all right. I'm going to live with it. We're getting close. Then there's this line that's kicking out. Then we get into the shoulder. It kind of comes down, and then the shoulder ball is kicking out there. I'm not really seeing too much of the shoulder ball. In the upper chest, it kind of kicks over. It's going to connect, but I see a little bit of the ball right here. And then we get into the shoulder. Now this shoulder, you see it's not exactly vertical, it's going down, but again, we just got a little box that's going to sit on top of that. The shoulder is raised high. It's kind of like he's, moving his weight, so that shoulder is really kind of coming up. I really wanted to accentuate that. If I look at it, if that ball is right here, the bottom of the shoulder is pretty much center to whatever that shoulder ball is, which is, again, just part of this this little toy. So, as I see it, it's probably going to be somewhere around like that. Definitely think I'm just going to draw a box. I think it would look something like this, but there's a little bit more detail. The shoulder, for example, has that arch on it. And this is a little more natural. So let's get rid of all that detail because it's kind of getting in my way. So this is what I'm seeing. There's a little bit of a point there, but I think I like this. Then it goes back, and then this is all connected. And the shoulder is a lot bigger than the piece below it. So the bicep is just not as thick. It's about the same on the bottom, but it does kind of kick down here. It has this little bit of a curve, kind of comes back and goes down. And then we've got the smaller joint pieces that are here. Now, if I'm looking at like where the wrist is going to go vertical, it's going to hit right about here. So if I come out, we know it's going to come down. This is about where that box is going to be. Like somewhere around here for the wrist. Right? No, it's a little bit higher than that. Straight across. This is going to be the bottom. Something like that. And then, of course, we got the hand that I've already kind of started on. And then something like that. And then I'm seeing that I'm seeing the top of the forearm, the elbow area, that kicks up a little bit higher. So it kind of goes like this. Got this little bump here, but kind of cuts in. There's a inset for that. And again, 2 pieces. So it's something like that. That is not as accurate as the others. This is also making me think that these legs are probably a little bit too long now. Just with the size of the torso, I was hoping to get a little bit better with that. So I'll maybe fix that at the end. We've got this area here for the neck. There's a bunch of like little plastic pieces that are holding this. The neck is really supported by this piece that goes inside, just to make it so the head doesn't fall away. And then I'm seeing the edge of the chin is really kind of about here. So if I go straight up, seeing that the chin kind of comes out here, it'll be like that. And then it's going to slowly go back at a slight angle, kind of run around. Let me know. Yeah, just something like that. That I think actually looks pretty good. Got that inlay angle is going to come down, and actually it's a little bit wider than this chin. And it kind of cuts in. But then we've got another one that is at the corner of the chin. And that's just because basically this piece here is kind of at an angle itself, kind of kicking itself out. I think that's all right. To compensate to have a little bit shorter, I'm going to go at a little bit more of an angle for the legs. So I'm going to raise this up a little bit. So we know like the kind of the knee kick out is here. So now we just connect it back up and we'll see. How that goes. Connect it all. Oh, so embarrassing. All of my dirty sketches. Apologize for that. But, you know, this is the process. I probably shouldn't apologize. This is the process. I am doing this to just get better. And as long as I do get better, I think I've accomplished the goal. I am excited to try a bunch of new different things. I really didn't want to go with anything that would be too meaningful for the first time, which is why I chose this, is because nobody really cares too much about this little plastic model. But I also want to talk a little bit about the thought process here, about, you know, what I'm doing and why. What my thought process is kind of in the process of drawing it. Like, why is it, why am I doing what I'm doing? All right, so we know that I'm seeing that kneecap is really right about here. If I draw that kneecap, and I know that kneecap is like from here is where this like kneecap goes, somewhere around right there. So the rest of the knee is gonna be above it. And so these angles are actually not the worst from before, just a little bit too big. So something like that. Kneecap, there's a little bit of, again, the internal. If I'm looking at the calf here, calf is really kind of equal to this, even though you kind of see it there. We want it to look like it's going down a little bit, so I might fudge that just a tiny bit. This is pretty horizontal from my perspective. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to kind of indicate. I think I might be bumping up against a little bit of a perspective thing because I'm so close to it. But we want that. We definitely want that to be going south more than it's doing. No, this is all wrong. Let's just do the outside for now, and I'll fill in all the details later. So I think it's kind of coming like that. And then go straight up right about here. Kicks out for these calf things, which are pretty neat. It kind of comes out. We've got the box for the ankle. We've got this little kick out for the mechanics. And then I'm looking straight down. Yeah, that seems about right. And then the foot is really kind of around this area. Do the same thing here. The little ball things and the feet. And then something like that. Okay. Well, I have a feeling I'm just not going to get like very precise drawings here. So I have a little bit of an issue kind of like seeing it, but for the most part, I think I'm pretty happy with where this is going. The last thing is just this arm. I'm just going to kind of do really rough. Probably what I should have started with. Something like this, I know. This arm is going to come out further than the leg. If I look at the foot, it is... So if I look at the foot ends, it's a little bit further out for me, but for me, it's kind of coming up right about here on the arm. So this means that the inside of the arm is going to be about like here. And then right about here is where the wrist goes. Something like that. That seems reasonable. The hand. Yeah, right about here is where the hand ends. Right about where the quad is. Going down, then this plastic gun is really coming down quite far. I'm not going to probably bring it down as far. I'll do something like that. That looks a little bit more I think what we would expect here. And there's that piece. This is interesting how these things are built. I feel like I'm not very, I'm not able to see the detail as well as I would like. So I'll probably take my glasses off to do that. This looks a little more kind of flat. This looks like a fairly straight line to here, although it's not. It's coming to about here. Get that cool little kick out. Well, this is all very messy. There is a little piece here. This would be kind of all, yeah. All right, so as far as trying to find like what these pieces are doing, I think this is probably as good as I'm going to have gotten for a first time. What I might try to do next time is maybe take another stab at trying to make this a little more tight, a little more accurate. And I would love to use some tech pens and try and, get a little bit back to my preferred style, which is more of a pen and ink style. So I think maybe next time we'll fix this, add a bunch of detail to what I'm actually seeing, and see if we can't turn this into just a little bit more of a more interesting dynamic rendering. Something that, I like to show people. So if I'm looking at this sketchbook. It'd be nice to show something that's got a lot of interesting techniques going on in it. Yeah, so that might be next time. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. This has just been absolutely fantastic. I'm going to try and do this more often. So, yeah, please, whatever, subscribe, like, anything you can do. Spread the word if you really want to. You don't have to. But, yeah, if you want to have, watch more of me struggling with trying to draw, and, if you want to talk about the process, I would love to. And until then,